Crypto is recovering and Aerodrome on the base chain is leading that recovery. Now things haven't always been that great, right? We had a massive crash, now we tend to go up again. The question is, what's causing the sell pressure? What's causing the buy pressure? Who's buying, who's selling? Let's have a look at some on-chain metrics most people aren't considering. We're going to look at transactions, we are going to look at tokenomics. Let's dive deep into the details. Aerodrome is currently at 80 cents. It's up 9% today. This week we are up by 50%, but have a look at this. We crashed from more than 80 cents down to 40 cents to now recover. Let's have a look at what actually went on over here. I believe at least parts of the recovery can be explained by the base chain outperforming all the other blockchains in the last week. Check this out. This is DeFi Llama and it looks at the total value locked change in the last 7 days, and base outperformed everything else. We are now at $1.5 billion locked on base, and Aerodrome is the largest of the decentralized exchanges on the base chain. Let's also have a look at relative valuations to, for example, Uniswap, right? Is the current price, the current market cap justified? Now, if this is your first time researching Aerodrome, then maybe you should be considering following channels like this, because I published a video on Aerodrome 138 days ago. That was when the price was still at 47 cents. So that was over here on the 4th of March. But let's now have a look at what those 122,000 holders are actually doing. How can we dive into this number? And here is what's supporting the Aerodrome price. It's especially the retail investors. What we've got over here are 3 charts. The left chart shows the number of wallets that have at least 1,000 Aero tokens. So that's directly on chain, and that's equivalent to $807 right now. In the middle, we go at 10x from that. So that's now $8,000 worth of the token. On the right, we've got the whales. That's at least $80,000 worth of the token. Isn't it interesting how the number of holders is increasing very constantly over time? Retail in aggregate tends to never sell. Medium-sized retail sells sometimes, and I've just updated the right chart. The whales actually did sell a bit in the last month. And since those wallets on the right are on average 100 times more important than the wallets on the left, that kind of a drop can explain quite a bit of a price crash. But again, the retail demand continues to stay strong. Here are the same kind of charts, but only for the last month. Small retail grew by roughly 13–14%. Medium-sized retail grew to the same degree, but the whales, they tend to sell off. And because the number of whales went down, and because those kind of wallets are 100 times more important than those kinds of wallets, that's why we see this massive volatility in the price. Now let's have a look at tokenomics, because they are very important for Aerodrome. 54% of all of supply is in a voting escrow, and another 7.4% are again in smart contracts. Here's the initial distribution of Aerodrome, who got what kind of tokens. The team got 14%. Protocol grants are another 10%, so that's also development for Aerodrome. And this is then how the supply grows over time, according to epochs. Currently, we are at 1.1 billion Aero tokens floating, so that puts us roughly here on the chart. Aerodrome launched roughly 1 year ago, and the number of tokens roughly doubled in that time. In the next months, the supply will grow by roughly 10% per month. And so those are the two major forces, right? When the supply is growing by 10% per month and the number of investors grows by 15%, then Aero can of course go up if the whales aren't selling too much in the meantime. The tokenomics of Aerodrome aren't too pretty, unfortunately, but the adoption is pretty high. The demand unfortunately is very volatile though, because again, it's very much dependent on the base chain. How much adoption can the base chain get? And when it's outperforming any other blockchain, then Aerodrome tends to outperform as well, right? Aerodrome is the main bet that's idiosyncratic to the base chain. There is no base token. Let's compare the Aerodrome valuation with the Uniswap valuation. And let's look at total value locked, as in what's the current market cap of Uniswap, what's the current market cap of Aerodrome, and how much capital is currently in those platforms. So Uniswap has a total value locked across all chains of 5.2 billion. The market cap of Uniswap is 8.4 billion. So there's roughly $1.6 of market cap per deposited dollar on-chain for Uniswap. Aerodrome has a fully diluted market cap of 930 million. The total value locked is 585 million. And that's equal to $1.66 of market cap relative to total value locked. So the valuations are very, very close to one another. It's not like there's a lot of growth that's currently priced into Aerodrome. The problem, however, is token inflation, right? The number of tokens will increase much faster for Aerodrome relative to Uniswap. So we looked at the fully diluted market cap, not at the current market cap. A lot of trading happens on-chain on the base chain. So the price is very likely discovered by the market. There's not really manipulation going on. Of course, there's also trading on Coinbase, but directly on-chain. On Aerodrome, there's 18% of trading volume. And the perpetual futures market doesn't have much action either. There's one more very important fact to consider, and I haven't finished that analysis, but I encourage you to do so in case you put a lot of money into Aerodrome, and that's the staking program. When you're staking Aero, the promise is that you're getting more Aero tokens back in the future, and you hope, of course, that the Aero token stays somewhat at least stable. And currently, the number of Aero that's been locked is increasing, and that's good for the price, right? It artificially lowers the circulating supply, pushing up the price with increasing demand. But that number doesn't always have to go up. Have a look at this. This is the equivalent on the Binance Smart Chain, the PancakeSwap token, the Cake token. When they launched their staking program, the number of Cake that got staked also increased over time, up until 1 year after launch. This is when people redeemed their Cake and sold their Cake. And so that happened in the middle of April 2023. And so have a look at this. This is Cake relative to BNB. This is the middle of April 2023. After the unlock of all of those Cake tokens, the price fell by more than 50%. So it's very important to check this out for Aero, right? Will there be a lot of Aero that gets unlocked where then people might take profit? I encourage you to have a very close look on that graph. And in case it turns around, I will of course cover this on this channel as well. If you want to know what kind of trades I do, feel free to check out the premium membership. I, for example, shorted, so I bet on falling prices of Cake before the unlock. I'm thinking about doing potentially the same with Aerodrome. If premium is still too expensive for you because your crypto portfolio isn't yet large enough, feel free to also check out our free Telegram. The link is as well down below. Looking very much forward to chatting with you over there as well. Cheers!